Welcome everyone to our RETCON Multifamily Summit. As Patrika mentioned, I'm James Sharon, the producer of RETCON. I'm excited to have you join us and hope you'll find value over the next 2 days. Here at RETCON, we strive to create the most successful peer-to-peer learning environment around real estate technology and its applications within the industry. As tech advances at an exponential rate, we believe it to be of critical importance to create knowledge forums for sharing so that all organizations can responsibly embrace and benefit from these developments. We're excited to have you join us as a vital part of this mission. As you watch talks today and tomorrow, remember that in many cases, the speakers themselves will be around to answer questions in real time. If you have a question, use the chat box on the side of the page. Now, let me welcome our first speaker today. Constance Freedman is the founder and managing partner of Moderne Ventures, an early-stage investment fund which is focused on investing in technology companies in and around the multi-trillion-dollar industries of real estate, finance, insurance, hospitality, and home services. It has both a fund and an industry immersion program called the Modern Passport, designed to foster innovation, partnership, and growth between the industry partners and new emerging technology companies. Modern has built a network of over 700 executives and corporations within its core industries and evaluates over 4,500 emerging tech companies each year. Modern most often looks outside industries to find technologies that can be applicable within them, and has invested in almost 100 companies across its funds, including DocuSign, August, Better, EasyKnock, Hello Alfred, Icon, LeaseLock, TaskEasy, and HomeSnap. Prior to launching Modern, Constance was the head of strategic investments at the National Association of Realtors, where she launched and managed its venture fund, Second Century Ventures, in 2008, and founded its accelerator program, Reach, in 2013. Constance has been the recipient of several prestigious awards, including Housing Wire's Women of Influence, Crain's Business 40 Under 40, Crain Chicago's Top Tech 50 3 times, Swanepoel's Power 200, and Inman's Top 101 in real estate. Constance earned a BS from Boston University and an MBA from Harvard Business School. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Constance to RETCON Multifamily.
Hi, everybody. I am Constance Freedman, and I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much. As James said, I'm the founder and managing director of Moderne Ventures. And again, we invest in technology companies all around real estate, finance, insurance, and home services. Now, what I will say and what you'll hear from me today is that oftentimes we're looking at companies that are actually outside these industries, that are coming inside these industries, and we're investing in those. We know that disruption often happens from the outside. And so we're constantly looking at technology as a whole, whether that be AI or robotics or B2B SaaS companies, and looking at how they make a difference inside of our industries, as well as those companies that are up and coming and expanding how we do business within real estate. Today, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit first share a little bit more about Modern so you have some context, and then talk about mostly tech and trends in real estate. And I always like to leave people with practical applications. So first, just a little bit about us. As I said, we are a venture fund. And so generally we're investing in companies that are 2 to 20 million in revenue. So that means they are early, but real companies. We've been doing this since before prop tech was cool, about 13 years now. And over the last 13 years, we've built up a network of about 700 executives and corporates that are part of, that are looking for tech and innovation to create their own competitive advantages. And we help them connect to those technology companies that are helping them do so. We run a program called the Modern Passport, which is an industry immersion program. And this is how we systematically connect our companies with our network. So I know a lot of you on our industry have participated in mentor meetings and pilots with companies within our passport. For those of you that haven't, I'll share with you some contact info at the end if you're interested in getting involved. We've now got about 3 funds. We've had 6 unicorns out of our portfolio, including 3 IPOs plus another 2 pending. We've had a lot of exits. We're tracking at top decile returns across our funds globally and through North America. We have about $250 million under management. So we are very active in this space and continue to be really proud of our companies within it. But what matters to you all is not necessarily what our financial returns are. I mean, our investors care a lot about that, but more about what returns can they help you do. So when you are investing in technology, whether it be as a customer or an investor, the things that are most important for you all is how does that increase my top line? How does it decrease my OpEx? And ultimately, how does it increase my NOI? And so when we're looking at new technologies to invest in, this is what we look at. And this is an example of a multi-billion-dollar fund that was investing in office multifamily master plan communities. And one of the exercises we do with our partners is we pull portfolio companies, across their portfolio and look at what kind of NOI increases could technology help them achieve. And so, and the way we look at things are really across the life cycle of a transaction, everything from segmentation, marketing, sales and leasing, financing and transactions, the resident experience, property management, and up to disposition. Over the years, we've invested in about 100 companies, over 100 companies that are helping to create efficiencies and push revenues across the cycle. From a consumer perspective, it's about finding a home, transacting through that leasing experience, and actually living there. And so, again, we think about this both from an industry as well as a consumer side. So that's about us. To give you a little context, what we're going to talk about today is some tech and trends that we've been seeing in this space. There is a considerable amount of capital that continues to pour into our sectors from, insurtech, real estate tech, fintech. These are all very related to what we do, obviously. And over the years, there's been significant growth. But even despite that, and despite that real estate makes up about 17% of the US GDP, only about 4% of all venture funding is actually coming into it. And this number was taken when SoftBank was really, really active. So the number is even lower than this. So despite all that tech and the hype and everything that we've been hearing, we think there's a lot of room to grow within our, somewhat archaic industries here, and a lot more financing and new startups are going to be entering the space. And, if we think about why, what a year we've had, right? And, if this were a book, it would surely be fiction, but of course we've all been living it. So what are the themes that we have been seeing really emerge out of this crazy year we just had? The primary things that we've been talking to with our partners and what we've been seeing is resiliency and opportunity. And so, in a world where everything is going, right, and, kind of as normal, it's really easy not to make any changes. But in a world of change or in a world of uncertainty, this is a time when people are really leaning in and now making changes to how they've always done things. And some of the big trends that we have seen emerge from this is, when we talk about resiliency is, first of all, about the residents. What was their experience while they were sheltering in place? What did you do to speak to your residents? Secondly, the planet. Sustainability has become very important to investors, to consumers, to operators. And so, the planet is emerging as a theme, as is operations. Again, it's you can't just sit around and do things the way you've always done. It's time to take a hard look at what can you do to optimize. And a lot of that comes down to digitization and optimization. So we'll talk about each of these, starting with the resident experience. One of the things that we think about in terms of experience is, first of all, how do you attract the right residents to your building? It's not just anyone who's living there, but actually the ones who are going to be ones that are optimal for that space and most likely to therefore stay most likely to refer others, most likely to bring their friends there. And so we look at a lot of technologies that are helping to, I guess, separate the wheat from the shaft, if you will, and both kind of weed out the ones who are actually moving, not just looking. And then, companies like Verse, for example, will nurture those who aren't quite ready to move yet, but might be 6 months from now, so you don't lose that lead. And then companies like Perk, which is a company that not only allows you to allows the residents to go down a path of what is it that I like as my preferences. Do I like outdoor space? Do I like light in the morning? Do I like light in the night? And basically, Perk will lead them through helping them find the apartment that's best for them. When we think about overall efficiency, how do we make it easy to move? Once we've attracted the right residents, how do we make it easy for them? People say it is much easier to buy a Tesla online than it is to rent an apartment. And so some of the companies that we have that are focused on that are things like Peak, which is virtual leasing. You don't need to actually go to the place, we learned this year, to actually pick the place. And, we'll talk about some of these others later on in terms of removing that security deposit, but still ensuring the property owner. Obviously, companies like DocuSign make things really easy. And then finally, thinking about maximizing, making it hard to leave. And so when we think about how do you make it hard to leave, it's about the experience. And oftentimes that's about amenities, whether it's hospitality amenities, making the place more beautiful through a company like Havenly, or even providing benefits that, the gig economy workers, who are a lot of our residents today, are no longer getting from their jobs. Can you imagine getting them through your building through companies like Stride? So secondly, the second trend I was talking about is the planet. ESG has certainly stepped into the spotlight. And during this whole COVID thing, when nobody was leaving, nobody was going anywhere, we saw carbon dioxide emissions fall by more than 6%. And, we certainly saw, a significant amount of financing go into this space. And so when we think about different companies that are addressing this from a technology standpoint that are coming into our space, we think about Vive. Vive is antimicrobial lighting technology. It works just like a typical light bulb, and costs about the same. And so, but it eradicates 99.9% of all bacteria and viruses. It actually kills the COVID virus, and it's safe for human consumption. So when we're thinking about making buildings safe again, Vive is certainly a company that we spend time focused on. Certainly, electrical vehicles are becoming more of a trend. And one of my one in our portfolio that I think is most impactful is actually 3D printing. So this is a company called Icon, which is actually 3D printing homes. So for about $4,000, they can 3D print an 800 square foot home in less than 24 hours and with zero waste. And so Icon is turning slums into communities. They're printing, they've got 30 home community in Mexico City. They've got mid-tier and luxury communities in Austin, Texas. They're starting to build 2 stories plus. And, when we think about companies that can really change the world, that is one of them. Coming to multifamily soon. All right, finally, on these trends, talking about operations. Again, when things are going well or businesses as usual, it's easy to do things the way we've always done them. But when there's a change or when there's uncertainty, it's time to think about things differently. And so again, whether that's automating some of the marketing we've done, the virtual tours, making leasing agents focus not just on the touring, but maybe have them do things that provide additional other value within the value chain. Certainly, we've seen robotics, like I just showed you, and we'll talk about even on the development side, using data and different automation tools in terms of new developments. So again, I always like to leave people with practical applications. So I'm going to go through on both these big sides that we just talked about, the resident experience and digitizing operations. I'm going to talk about I'll leave you with 5 case studies, 5 companies. They're just examples of tech companies that are addressing each of these. And I've got LeaseLock in the middle because I think it's squarely there. So I will start with the resident experience, and I'm going to talk about a company called Moto Refi. So what Moto Refi does is it is automating auto loans, auto loan refinancing. Now, 80% of people, when they go to buy a car, they finance it. Almost 100% of them do so through the dealer, and they are not getting a deal when they're leaving that dealer with financing, because the dealer is now no longer making money on cars. They're making it all with financing and with their warranties. So what Moto Refi does is it works with the credit unions and other financial institutions, and it provides a digital platform to provide refinancing, saving consumers about $100 a month. Now, the where this makes sense on the multifamily side is that they also provide a $200 referral fee for anyone who refers a consumer on their platform. So when we think about marketing affiliate programs, when we think about ancillary revenues for residents in our buildings, this provides a great ancillary revenue for owners and operators. But also, if a resident now has $1,200 more of disposable income each year, it also provides a higher quality resident. And so this is one of the sort of amenities that we think about, or a program that we think about to help residents, themselves, but also, provide income and a higher quality group of residents for you. Another similar, experience program that we have is a company called Kyo. So Kyo is providing a modern day Craigslist for furniture. So, a lot of what we see with people who are moving or wanting to refresh their furniture is not that they really care about making money on selling their furniture, but rather they want to get rid of what they have. And so they don't want Craigslist crazies coming in. So what Kyo does is they will provide a white glove service. They will come in, they will remove the furniture, they bring it to their own warehouse, they clean it, they photograph it, they list it, they provide a commission to the consumer for selling it, and takes care of the problem for you. And then, secondly, for those who are moving into a place, they provide really high-end secondhand furniture. So this adds to the sustainability, especially right now with the Suez Canal and with COVID and with all kinds of supply chain issues. It's really hard to get furniture within a year. That couch you order is like 8 months to 12 months away. So Kyo is a really great source of furniture for your residents. And the other thing that we found with the multifamily is that they find that a lot of times consumers will leave their apartments and they just leave their furniture. So Kyo is partnering with the multifamily owners and operators to both provide this service to their consumers, but also provide a service to you by removing that furniture from people who just left it. All that empty retail that you might have below, Kyo is also a kind of obvious pop-up retail opportunity for a building, especially during lease up. And then, LeaseLock, when we start to think about both that consumer experience and coming into digitizing operations, LeaseLock removes the security deposit while still ensuring the owners and operators of any rent loss or property damage to the units. And, what we found with buildings that are using LeaseLock is they actually provide a 19% lift in lease conversion. More people are applying because they like not having to come up with a security deposit. There's ancillary revenue opportunity up to about $1 million, based on the portfolio, and up to, same thing with a decrease in administrative costs. And so this is based on a portfolio of about 90 properties. So you can do the math in terms of, what that might be applicable for yours. But it's been a very successful program. There are over 1 million units that they're serving today, and one you should look at if you don't have them already. All right, moving more into operations. We have a company called TaylorBird now, And this is specifically for value add properties. What they're doing is using photo imaging technology to save about 4 months of development and renovation cycle time out of the construction life cycle for those new value add properties that you might be purchasing. So based on photography of the building of those units, they can estimate with 99.99% accuracy the measurements of the kitchens, the baths. They can look at, they can basically automatically create an RFP to look at makeovers and new renovations for the kitchen and baths and other renovations for the units, and allow you to underwrite more efficiently and bid and basically be shovel ready at closing. And so we find that it reduces pre-construction hours by about 80%, lowers the overall construction cost by about 8%, and overall saves about 4 months in this process, which can be a huge competitive advantage and cost saver. All right, final two. So Unicast is another example of a company that we brought in recently, which is focused on data. So they're tracking mobile data and helping our real estate partners make better decisions based on true predictive analytics. Where are the new hotspots? Where's the best place for site selection, store optimization, and competitive intelligence? And then finally, I guess that was the last one I was going to talk about. We've got about 100 of these, and so I can go on and on. But the idea here is that the technologies that are coming in, the idea of why to adopt these is to get that first access, create better speed to market, and ultimately generate revenue and portfolio ROI. So some of the other themes that we're looking at, again, anything around AI and data, certainly identity and security are things that are becoming, really important and prevalent right now. Health and wellness, that fits into the ESG and sustainability in terms of making buildings safe, but also attracting more people with having good community and wellness amenities. Certainly a future of work. We work, live, and play in our homes these days. And so as we're thinking about amenities and what's going to attract people and keep people, these are all things that we're considering very seriously within our portfolio and our themes of interest. So I will wrap this up with my contact info. I hope this was helpful in thinking about new things that are coming down the pipe. If anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about what we're doing or have an opportunity to meet with some of these companies, we hold mentor meetings, one-on-one meetings with our companies every other Thursday. Feel free to send us a note at info@modernventures.com, and we can tell you how to get more involved with what we're doing. Thank you so much. I loved being here today, and I really can't wait till we're doing these things in person again.
Wow, Constance, thank you. That was an amazing way to start off RETCON.